Hello trainers, Professor Palm here, and welcome back to the spooky season. In our world, there sure are a lot of creepy places that will chill your bones. For me, I think one of the scariest places of all time are caves. Believe me, there are so many other places that are very scary. Graveyards as well as burial places, for example. I mean, sometimes you could be in a very scary place with spirits you don't even know already watching you. But I also would even say that there are so many abandoned places that give us a very uneasy feeling too. But the reason I feel caves are so scary is because of how easy you can get lost in them. And sometimes it's so dark you can't see a thing. Ugh, don't even remind me of the rock tunnel. I'm just glad that was a one-time thing. Whether you really like going into caves or you really hate them, you cannot deny that they are a full-on staple of every adventure. Well, they may not be as challenging as in the new games we've had, but I will say it is still impressive to think that we still have to go through them. With a lot of things that are going away, I'm glad that's been staying around for a while. But what I find very scary about the caves is what hides within them, whether it be the Pokemon or the very strong trainers inside, or sometimes even the puzzles. You know that once you go to a cave, it's really gonna be a challenge to get out. For a lot of us, when we go into the caves, there's always that one dreaded line we think of that we know we're going to encounter. But for some of us, we really like caves because of that line. I think that you know what we're talking about. So you better cover your ears because things are going to get very loud. And you better look up and not disturb their slumber or they'll swoop down and attack you. I'm of course talking about our famous friends, the Bat line, including of Zubat, Golbat, and of course, the big bat itself, Crobat. This is a line that I think so many of us have dreaded for so many years when going in the caves. Other than being a staple of creatures that live in the caves, Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat for so many years were a staple to so many evil teams. If you really think about it, so many grunts and even higher up members used Zubats and Golbats, while the leader, being the big boss, would use either a Golbat and at their final battle, a Crobat. So yeah, these Pokemon were already dreadful to fight in the wild, but then they became even more dreadful appearing on so many villainous teams. I guess you could say these bats turned to the dark side. This line also is infamous for giving so much confusion. I think the most annoying thing about them is that either they use the move Confuse Ray to get you confused, but of course they also have that horrible supersonic that just confuses your Pokemon and makes you dread hearing that noise. Now that we've talked about some negative things, let's put them in a better light. I guess I could say better moonlight since these Pokemon are nocturnal. But if I am to be honest, they have a lot of cool things going for them. First of all, Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat are the very first ever Bat Pokemon line. They're also, to date, the only of their kind, as they have never had their typing combo ever repeated. Also, what I find about this line so cool is they were the first Pokemon on the Pokedex to get a new evolution. For those who did not know about the first generation, originally the line was just Zubat and Golbat. Crobat came in the second generation when they started adding in new evolutions to the family. And sometimes these evolutions don't look great when you look at the others, and sometimes they look good. Crobat is a shining example of a great added evolution. Looking back all these years later, while I find this line annoying at times, I also have a bit of a soft spot for Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat. The main reason why is it was the very first Pokemon card I ever got from my cousin. You see, when I first started playing the game of Pokemon, I just was given a card and it was Zubat. All these years later, I really do like Zubat, and I'm always happy to add it to my team. I think Golbat is great, and I think Crobat is amazing. They may not be the most famous Pokemon of all time, like other ones that came out of Gen 1 and Gen 2, but they are probably some of the most well-known. Unfortunately, they're infamously known for being the reason why people buy repels. It's hard to believe that Halloween is just around the corner. I cannot wait. I love Halloween. Gonna eat a lot of candy that day. I'm sure that the rest of you will as well. Well, I think it's time that we talk all about Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat. When you think of Halloween, one of the things that a lot of us think about is bats. Of course we think about pumpkins too, but bats are a major staple of Halloween. So why don't we talk all about Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat and find out what makes them such amazing Pokemon. But before we begin, I want to give a very special thanks and shout out to my friend, Puffy Sparkles. Sorry this video took a long time, Puffy Sparkles, but I hope that it was worth the wait, and I hope that you enjoy it to the fullest. But you're not the only one that I'm going to be thanking today. I want to give a very special thanks and shout out to artist HTTP Koopa for my Team Rocket shirt. Since most of the time the Zubat line is associated with a lot of villainous teams, I could think of a better shirt to wear than this one. If you really like these shirts that HTTP Koopa makes, check him out on Etsy. I have a link in the description to his Etsy shop, so please check him out and remember to say Professor Palm sent ya. I want to suck your blood. I'm sorry, trainers. I just had to do it. After all, this is something that this line does, and they have those very powerful things just to do it. So yeah, let's spread our wings and take flight into the night sky. I am ready to go. And here comes the little bat itself that's going to help us take flight, Zubat! Zubat the bat Pokemon is based on bats, particularly the vampire bat, which bites other animals and feeds on their blood. Vampire bat, as well as bat saliva, is infamous for spreading deadly diseases such as rabies, which inspires the poison typing for Zubat. If you want to find this poison bat and add it to your team, it's very easy to find Zubat, as they're found living in caves. As I've said before, they're infamous for being cave dweller Pokemon, as they love the dark and noise within the caves. However, they can also be found living in old buildings as well as dark forests with other Zubats in colonies. As of the Sinnoh games, Zubat now has a gender difference, being its fangs. As you can see, male Zubats have bigger fangs than female Zubats, and the one I own is a male. But regardless of the fang size, both male and female Zubat fangs are pretty powerful and pack a nasty bite. Zubat is a Pokemon that is very disadvantaged, as it's down by 2 senses, as it has no eyes, which you may have known. But did you also know that Zubat has no nostrils and absolutely no sense of smell? Some studies believe that Zubat had eyes originally, but living in pitch black places, their eyes gradually grew shut and deprived them of vision, until eventually they stopped growing eyeballs for further generations. Even though Zubat has no eyes, thankfully, Zubat isn't all blind. While flying, Zubat constantly emits ultrasonic waves from its mouth to identify its surroundings, very similar to that of a sonar. With this echolocation, these waves then bounce back to their large ears, telling them what could be in the way and whether or not they should attack, or if there's even prey. So Zubat knows what to eat as well as what to flee from. Despite not being able to see, when flying, Zubat almost never bumps into its surroundings, all thanks to their echolocation that they use with themselves as well as with the colony. Every Zubat's frequency with their ultrasonic waves can slightly differ from colony to colony. They also use this echolocation and their ultrasonic waves to speak to one another. Despite not being so big, Zubat's wings are very strong, and also Zubat are amazing flyers. Despite not being able to see other Pokemon fly, or even themselves, Zubat easily learn to fly from the moment they're born. They're natural-born flyers. Just like with vampires, Zubat hates sunlight. The main reason for this is because their thin skin. You see, Zubat's blue skin is so thin that they'll be badly burned if sunlight touches it. Zubat, in order to avoid sunlight, will go anywhere that it can where the sun doesn't shine, whether it's deep inside of caves, in abandoned buildings, or even deep into the dark forest. This Pokemon will stay out of the sunlight and sleep until the sun goes down. On an interesting note, some captured and trained Zubat have been recorded to be more tolerant of the sun in the daytime, especially towards direct sunbeams. However, if you have one in the sunlight, you should be very careful and not expose it to too much sun, as it can make Zubat very sick. Zubat usually have very little to worry about of the sun, as they're nocturnal Pokemon, and they sleep hanging down, unmoving in a dark spot until the sun goes down and the moon rises. At night when they fly, you can hear Zubat's wings flapping very loudly in the night sky. Zubat fly in colonies, looking for new places to live or even new members to join the colony. Once in a while, they get a new nocturnal Pokemon to join them in their nightly flight. Zubat's fangs are very sharp, and they can easily pierce through the thickest of skin, which is great for some fruit and bug-type Pokemon they eat. Some Zubats spit poison at their foe to blind them temporarily, and then they go into an attack using their sharp little fangs. Unfortunately, Zubat's fangs have another purpose. Some Zubat have been known to use their fangs to suck the blood of both humans and Pokemon when they're in the mood. A feature that is something that the rest of its line likes to do. While on the bright side, you won't become a vampire if it sucks your blood. You could get poisoned if Zubat bites you. This is because Zubat's fangs are coated with a very toxic venom. Despite lacking 2 senses, Zubat sure can do a lot of cool things, and they can really be annoying pests, swooping down from the cave walls for an attack. However, if you want to see how strong and annoying as well as how scary bats can be, then let's spread our wings and take flight to the next level as we evolve Zubat into Golbat. Whoa, Golbat! What big eyes, what big wings, and what big mouth you have! Well, as Golbat would say, the better they are for fighting with, dear trainers. Golbat the bat Pokemon is based on a bat, but the bat it's most based on is the vampire bat, which are known to bite and feed on other animals' blood, and that's something that Golbat loves to drink. Also, bat saliva, specifically vampire bat saliva, is infamous for spreading diseases such as rabies. So, this is what also inspires its poison typing. If you want to find a Golbat in the wild, it's very easy, as Golbat make their homes in caves, as they love the darkness, and they also like listening to the sounds that they hear in all the darkness, as they have great hearing. Golbat are nocturnal Pokemon, so they only come out during the night, and they enjoy being in total darkness. As of the Sinnoh games, Golbat now has a gender difference, being its fangs. As you can see, a male Golbat has bigger fangs than a female Golbat. So, as you can tell, the one I own is female. But regardless of the fang size, both male and female Golbat's fangs are equally as sharp and should be avoided at all times. Golbat's most standout feature are its big fangs, which are incredibly sharp. Golbat's sharp fangs can puncture through the toughest of skin when it comes to humans, Pokemon, and fruit. All in all, Golbat really likes to bite things, as it feels a great sensation in its teeth. Because Golbat loves to bite everything, every once in a while, you'll see a Golbat missing a few fangs. This happens when Golbat tries to bite either a Steel-type or even a Rock-type Pokemon, because before they learn, they think everything will just go down in a single bite. Golbat are also very creepy, as just like vampires, Golbat loves to drink and suck the blood from both humans and Pokemon alike. Golbat drains over 10 ounces of blood in just a single gulp. This is all thanks to Golbat's needle-like sharp fangs, which are hollow like straws, making them very fragile. Not only does the blood taste great to Golbat, but it also gives their skin a nice shine. The ones that have more purple than blue are some of the healthiest Golbats. While these bats can be very gluttonous when it comes to eating, they're not greedy, as Golbat will share with all members of its colony. Unfortunately, Golbat is a major glutton, and it always overeats. I guess you could tell also because of its size. Sometimes, Golbat drinks so much blood to a point where they get so bloated and they cannot even fly anymore. So, in order to go from place to place, they have to walk, which is pretty funny to see, but it also helps them burn calories. The ones that can still fly with overstuffed bellies will fly in a very clumsy manner. Unlike Zubat and Crobat, who walk awkwardly on the ground because of their stubby feet, Golbat walks fine on the ground with no problem whatsoever, and it also uses this skill for hunting. You see, Golbat's footsteps are completely stealthy and don't even make a sound. Golbat sneaks up on prey when it's sleeping and then sinks its fangs into the victim before draining their blood, or in some cases, eating them. Other than eating, Golbat's mouth is also used to emit ultrasonic waves that they use to fight enemies or even talk to other members of the colony. Golbat can increase its frequency so much that its waves can even shatter through the thickest of ice, crystals, and sometimes glass. Since Golbat are nocturnal Pokemon, they only come out during the night. During the day, you can find them sleeping upside down in caves. However, they also have good hearing too, so you better not disturb their slumber, or they'll swoop down and attack. Golbat loves to fly, and they rarely take a break to rest their wings. They're always on the go and enjoy going places. It's easy to tell who the older and more experienced ones are, as those Golbats are faster than the others. Some Golbat lead the colony of Zubats, and even train them to get even faster. Since they now have eyes, Golbat have superior night vision, and they can see through the darkest of nights, as well as in the darkest of caves. Nothing escapes their vision. Originally, in Gen 1, things just ended here with Golbat as there was no higher level it could go. But because of the power of friendship and Golbat's love of going fast, it managed to fly even higher than before. So, with the power of friendship, let's soar to even higher heights and evolve Golbat into Crobat. With those 4 wings and that need for speed, we're about to take a full-on fright flight into the darkest night with Crobat. Crobat the bat Pokemon is based on a bat, specifically the Mexican free-tailed bat, which is one of the fastest bats alive. Crobat also draws inspiration from vampire bats, not just because they suck blood, but also because of the saliva, which is infamous for spreading diseases such as rabies, which also inspires their poison typing. If you ever want to find this quick-winged bat Pokemon, it's easy to find Crobat living in caves. However, they have no set place where they live, as they are always on the go. But sometimes you could also find them living in the forests, as they sleep there during the day and then go around all night looking for bugs. Despite Crobat's fierce and angry appearance, it actually has a friendly nature, and it doesn't become enraged easily, unless disturbed while sleeping. They even help other Pokemon that are struggling to fly make it into the sky. Some Crobat even act as a mentor as well as a flight teacher for newborn Zubat, so it helps them easily take flight. With 4 powerful wings, Crobat is extremely fast, as once it takes flight, it can go to 100 miles per hour after just flapping its wings once. Some claim that through evolution, Crobat lost its legs as they turned into its extra wings, but that's actually false, as it still has feet and legs, but they've just become a little bit harder to see. Because of Crobat's very short feet and extra long wings, it cannot move very well on the ground or even walk well because of its 2 stubby feet. If Crobat falls onto the ground, all it can do is crawl around awkwardly until it regains its flight and flies once again. Crobat flies so silently through the dark with its 4 wings that it may not be noticed even when it's nearby, unless you look up. It uses its stealth to its advantage when hunting bug-type Pokemon. Because of its silent wings, it's been given the name the Silent Flyer. Much like its previous evolutions, Zubat and Golbat, Crobat are nocturnal Pokemon, so don't expect to see them during the day. You can, however, find them sleeping in caves upside down, but never disturb their slumber. When disturbed from sleep, Crobat emit horrible yet a powerful ultrasonic wave from their mouth. But if that doesn't make you run away, it'll then fight back by spitting powerful poison at you. It's no surprise that Crobat loves to fly, and they are always on the go. This 4-winged bat can fly around all day without ever having to stop. It does this by alternately resting its front and rear wings in a pattern. Crobat can go great distances using this trick, and it can even fly from region to region in just a matter of hours. The wings of Crobat can easily fly through any sort of terrain. It doesn't matter how thin or narrow the cave is, it'll fly with ease. Also, Crobat's wings can resist extremely strong winds. Sometimes they just go with the flow and let the wind carry them, but then fly right through it. Just like with Golbat, Crobat drinks blood. However, unlike Golbat, Crobat's fangs are so sharp and yet so painless that if it bites you in the dark and sucks your blood, you won't notice the pain or realize that you've been bitten. However, because it's a poison-type Pokemon, Golbat's fangs are very poisonous, so you might be poisoned if it bit you. While Crobat enjoys eating lots of fruit, it needs to drink blood for energy. If Crobat doesn't drink a single drop of blood for a short while, it'll become weak to a point where it won't even be able to fly. Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat are probably one of the most well-known lines to date, as they have appeared under the ownership of so many trainers, especially under the ownership of many villainous team members. And they're also some of the most well-known Pokemon in the caves. They're one of the prime reasons why we buy so many repels when we go into one. There's a lot to talk about here, so here's some fun facts and tidbits about Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat. Zubat was the first Pokemon to not have eyes, and due to its lack of eyes, it's the only Pokemon with an alpha form in Pokemon Legends Arceus to not have glowing red eyes. However, despite having no eyes, Zubat can still learn the move Mean Look through level up. In Red and Blue, Golbat has a large tongue sticking out with its sprite, which makes it look very silly. However, this is the only time that its tongue has ever been out, as Golbat's tongue has not appeared in any game sprites in the anime or in any official artwork in over 2 decades. Crobat in the core series game is the signature Pokemon to 2 poison-type experts. Koga in the Johto games, while he's an Elite Four member at the Indigo Plateau, and to his daughter Janine. She also uses Crobat as her signature Pokemon, while she serves as the Fuchsia City gym leader in her father's place. And before Gen 5, Crobat was used by Team Aqua boss Archie, Team Magma boss Maxie, and Team Galactic boss Cyrus as their second-in-command Pokemon. Currently, Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat are the only of their kind, as there is no other Pokemon that has the same type combo of Poison Flying. For many years, Zubat originally was the final name in the alphabetical listing of Pokemon. This all changed with the introduction of Zygarde in the Gen 6 games. Golbat is the first Pokemon in the National Pokedex number to evolve into a Pokemon from a later generation. With a base stat total of 130 in speed, Crobat is the fastest Poison-type Pokemon that's neither a Mega Evolution or a Legendary. Golbat and Zubat were originally unable to learn the HM Fly, despite both of them possessing wings and flying in their sprites. However, only Crobat could learn Fly. Thankfully, as of the Gen 4 games, all members of the line can learn the move Fly through either HM or TM. At just 30 base power, Zubat has the lowest special attack of all flying-type Pokemon, but it's not alone, as Zubat ties with Tailo, Starly, Combee, and Pikipek, as they each have the same low level and special attack at just 30 power. Crobat is one of the rare final stage evolutions that breaks the gender chain. Unlike its previous evolutions, who have gender differences, Crobat doesn't. For abilities, Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat have inner focus, which prevents them from flinching. But if you want to get competitive with hidden abilities, all members of the line have the hidden ability Infiltrator, which allows them to pass through barriers. And despite Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat all being Poison-type Pokemon, none of them could learn any Poison-type moves through Level Up or TM until the Gen 3 games. Our bat trio sure is a frightful one, as Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat will make going into caves so scary, as not only will they attack you, but they will chase you forever. However, like almost all Pokemon, our terrible cave bat trio has weaknesses, so it's not all that scary. Being both poison and flying type Pokemon, Crobat, Golbat, and Zubat can easily be taken out of the sky when they're hit by moves, which are Psychic type, Electric type, Rock type, and Ice type. So, only 4 weaknesses, not too bad. At least there's a way to fight back against this bat battalion in the caves. However, since the caves are their home, these poison bats have a home advantage, as there's a good reason why so many people fear caves, especially these bats, as they get great stab moves, as when they use their poison and flying type moves, Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat get super effective moves on Pokemon who are Fighting type, Bug type, Grass type, and Fairy type as of Generation 6. Wow, with an equal 4v4 split, it's great to see that Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat have as many strengths as they do weaknesses. However, we're not done just yet. Since Golbat, Crobat, and Zubat are all flying types, they get an immunity against a very specific kind of move. And of course, that goes to ground type moves. Since these bats fly sky high, Ground-type moves are completely useless on Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat. With those strong wings and powerful poison, these Pokemon really know how to drive you batty in a battle. Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat make going into caves so scary. However, I have to admit, I used to dread this line, but as time has gone on, I've learned to really love this poison bat line. Bats are incredibly cool creatures. I just wish that we'd get more bat Pokemon than the few we have, and I also hope that one day we get a Dark-type bat Pokemon. But if you train Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat the right way, they can really drive your opponent batty. With those fangs and those horrible high-pitched voices, I think you'll see why them living in the caves is actually a blessing. While Zubat and Golbat were already a pretty solid line back in Gen 1, I am so glad Crobat was added in Gen 2. I have to admit, with how long I've known Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat as a 3-stage line, I actually forgot in some Kanto games that they were not all introduced together. Honestly, Crobat is what makes the line so complete. I may love bird Pokemon, but I have a soft spot for these bat Pokemon. Looking at them together, this line sure goes on an amazing journey, which I can describe in one word: terrifying. While Crobat, Golbat, and Zubat can be very annoying, especially if you forgot repels in a cave, I actually have been missing them a lot. In fact, I gotta admit, seeing this line in Pokemon Legends Arceus really made me excited and so happy to see them again. I guess sometimes the most annoying Pokemon grow on us as time goes on. Gotta be honest, for the first bat line ever, Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat really did not disappoint. They really scare you with what they can do. It's no wonder why so many evil team members use this line. These bats are some of the most dreadful creatures that we can encounter. But if you're one who happens to dread Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat, don't worry, you're not alone. Thankfully, caves are usually a one-time passage, as you never really encounter this dreaded bat line that much outside of it. But if you enter the caves, you better be ready for Crobat, Golbat, and Zubat when they swoop down to a fight. You better have a fast Pokemon to fight or flee, and you better buy many repels, because if you don't, you better be ready in the caves when bats attack. Welcome back, trainers. I hope that you had a wonderful time flying in the night sky with these incredible poison bats. Well, I also hope that you enjoyed this video to the fullest, Puffy Sparkles. I'm glad you made the request. Are you a fan of the Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat line, or do you just dread them and always run away from them? Before we end this, I just have a few questions for you. We've been introduced to a lot of bat Pokemon over the years. However, we've never been introduced to a bat Pokemon that's dark and flying. Who's your favorite bat Pokemon as well as bat Pokemon line? And who do you think that the dark and flying would look the best on for a bat Pokemon? Some generations introduce new evolutions to a family. Some of them work well and some of them don't. Who do you think is a perfect addition introduced to a new family for an evolution? And who do you think is one that could have easily been passed over? When it comes to villain teams, I happen to think that Zubat, Golbat, and Crobat are the most common Pokemon found on the villains teams. What do you think, though? What do you think is the most common Pokemon for a villain group to have? When it comes to Poison-type Pokemon, do you like the typing, or is it your least favorite? Also, who's your favorite Poison-type Pokemon, and what is the best move that's Poison-type? I really do enjoy the high friendship mechanic, as I think that's a pretty cool way to actually show that your Pokemon is having a lot of fun with you, and it's cool that some Pokemon evolve with it. Are you a fan of the friendship mechanic, or do you hate it? And of course, what do you fear the most whenever you go into caves? Do you fear Pokemon like Zubat and Golbat? Alright trainers, it's Halloween hunt time. My Misdreavus appeared several times throughout the video. Did you happen to catch it? Because it would appear and disappear so many times. If you did, please let me know when you caught it, and I'm going to be happy to see all of you on Halloween. As you know, I'm having a Halloween special, and the two Pokemon I'm going to cover have made several appearances here and there. Well, I hope that you're excited to see both Miss Mangius and Misdreavus on Halloween. So please tune in for the Halloween special at 9 o'clock on October 31st. It's going to be a spooktacular Halloween for us all. I hope that you're all excited about the Halloween special. I'll be seeing all of you on Halloween. And if you liked what you saw, please leave a like. If you have any questions, you want to answer any of the questions that I just threw at you, you want to express some happiness because we're doing a Halloween special, or you want me to cover another line, something in Pokemon current events, or you have an idea that you want turned into a video, then please comment. And as always, if you like what you saw and you want to see more, smash the subscribe button. As a Pokemon professor, it's my job to teach as many trainers as I can, and I'm always happy to meet new faces. Thanks for watching, trainers, and I'll see you on Halloween. Palm out!